Welcome to the Rich in Success podcast, the podcast that aims to define exactly what success means to you and gives you the tools to achieve this in your daily life. Hosted by action-taking mindset coach, world record holder and successful entrepreneur Matt Hall. Each week, this show brings you motivation, education and inspiration on how you can live a happier, more fulfilled and more successful life. Are you ready to take your life to the next level? If so, this is the podcast for you. Now, let today's lessons begin.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Rich in Success. We are joined...
Do you know... Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you know you have to say they now as well? You know, ladies and gentlemen.
We don't do ladies and gentlemen.
Well, yeah, I read an article where you can't do ladies and gentlemen anymore, because what about they?
Oh, yeah.
You know, as in they, as in...
Ladies, gentlemen, and they. Yeah. Welcome to this episode of Rich in Success. We're joined by the disruptive entrepreneur himself, Mr. Rob Moore. Rob, I want to talk first of all, if somebody's listening to this and they have lived the same life on repeat year after year, getting the same results, they know they need to do more, they want more, they know that they're capable of much more. What do they need to be doing? What's your advice?
So I think get progressively uncomfortable. So a lot of people talk about getting uncomfortable, and obviously getting uncomfortable is a challenge, and we're creatures of comfort, aren't we? You know, we have the habits and the rituals, but there's also a lot of personal development advice which says, you know, go out there and get really uncomfortable. I'm not sure that's good advice, because, you know, in a business you wouldn't want to get uncomfortable by going bust, spending all your savings on a really risky investment. So I think if you want to make a change in your life and break a pattern, start getting gently uncomfortable first. So, you know, if you haven't done any exercise, you guys obviously do. I'm feeling very insignificant here with your guns all over on show. But, you know, you would probably just go and do a 30, 45-minute workout. You wouldn't bench press 150 kilos. You know, you wouldn't do loads of squats. You might do a bit of an all-over body workout. You might take a couple of days rest. You might start training twice a week and then build it up. Yeah. So if it's business and finance, start doing some research on successful business owners, start listening to business podcasts, start with business audiobooks, take a basic business course. You know, if it's a career change you want to do, or maybe start working evenings, one weekend a week. You don't have to quit your job immediately and then, because I know some people say go all in, you know, or burn your bridges, or no plan B. But I think those things are only if nothing has worked for a long time and they're your only options left. It's so much easier now to get yourself self-educated. So one of my personal development mentors used to say that traditional education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. So
I like that.
Podcasts like this, books, online courses, physical courses.
Invest in yourself.
Exactly, yeah. You are your best investment. Invest in yourself wisely. You pay yourself the best return. So I think that's the best thing someone can do. I think getting mentors and going and speaking to people who've been there and done it, and are a level or two above you. You know, if you wanted to get into good shape, you'd probably get a good personal trainer. I know you used to be an actor. You'd maybe go to a good school or get a good acting coach, someone who's done it. And I think that's really important. And then it's amazing once you start on the journey, all the doors and the opportunities that open up and all the people you meet. Like, you know, if this is the first podcast that listeners have listened to, and then I said, I've got my podcast called The Disruptive Entrepreneur, and then they listen to mine. And then they hear Mark Randolph, who's the first CEO of Netflix, and they realise he's got a book, and they go listen to his book. And then they see all of his connections.
Yeah, it's a progression.
It is, and you just open, like, you open one door, then there's two. You open that one, and there's four, and that one, then there's four. And then, that, you know, like with all the books and the connections and the people and the influencers.
But the most important thing is starting, because so many people don't, do they? They just see it on TV, they listen to podcasts, and then they take zero action. I think that's the important thing, isn't it? That they do something.
Yeah, do something. Start small. I wrote a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later. So start now and get perfect later. I'm not a big fan, though. There's a lot of people bashing people out there for not taking action. But we should be respectful for human beings. And some people don't take action because they're scared. Some people don't take action because they don't have all the information. Some people don't take action because they're going to be ostracised from a certain, you know, their friends and family aren't maybe going to be supportive. Some people are trying to break habits that have built up over a long period in their life. Some people have had a lot of shit happen to them. So yes, go take action. But actually, I believe that learning and action are kind of symbiotic. Because some people say, there's no point just doing shelf development and just reading books. But actually, if you read a lot of books and you just read and you just read and you just read and you just read, your actions would actually change. Just because you're not taking massive action doesn't mean you're not taking action. And those books, that information is going to go and stick in your mind, and it's going to come out at these random times. I'll give you an example. "'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe." So that was a poem I learned when I was 7, 8. And I can remember it today. It's just a random, useless thing. But the point is, anything that you learn, especially with repetition, it's there in your head, ready. And I do think that your actions will change and your opportunities will change if you learn. But if you're learning and you're really not doing anything, you've probably got to look at the fears, you've got to look at the obstacles, you've got to look at the reasons why you're not taking action.
And recognise that everybody that does it has fears too. Everybody has obstacles. It's about just overcoming it and knowing that there may be different obstacles, there may be different fears, but we all have them. It's simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, fears serve you, and people forget that. If you didn't have any fears, we'd all be dead by now. And so fear of being judged stops us, getting kicked out of our tribe, which meant death. So it's a survival mechanism. And it's good to fear big mistakes. It's just balancing what is a first world modern society fear.
Yeah.
So public speaking, for example, is famous, isn't it? That's many people's fear worse than death and all the other fears. It's top on the fears list, above spiders, above small and large open spaces. But in reality, no one's probably going to get garroted or stoned or burned for doing public speaking.
You don't know. It depends where you do the public speaking.
If you do it in Bradford, you might.
Exactly. That's where I'm going with this.
What was the turning point for you, Rob? Everyone has that kind of enlightened moment where they think, I need to change, I need to do something. What was it for you? Yeah, well,
when you say everyone has that turning point, I think media and films want it to be like there's the lowest low.
The big moment.
Exactly, the aha moment, the eureka moment, the I found myself moment.
But it's progressive, right?
Yeah, exactly. See what you did
where
there?
He's going. There's a reason you have these phrases, right?
Yeah,
I get it.
There is. December the 15th, 2005, my dad had a massive nervous breakdown in his pub. There were about pushing 100 of his best customers on a very busy Sunday lunch. My dad used to have the best carvery in Peterborough. And he was I think he was 55-ish then. 2005. No, he was nearly 60. He was 60 years old, give or take. And he got quite heavily beaten by one of the police officers who bashed him to the ground. This was all outside his pub. My dad's a strong, proud northern man. He's from Huddersfield, not a million miles away from where you are. And my whole life, so I was 25 then, I'd kind of just coasted. And I always felt like I was destined to do something useful. I wouldn't say great, I'd say useful and good, more than I was doing, put it that way. I was quite good at getting quite good at things, but not good at getting good at anything specific. So I was like a generalist, and I'd get really bored quickly, and I'd experiment with loads of things. And I did because I could, because my dad always used to let me. And he always funded me through school, funded me through university. He put me through private school, put me through university. And I wake up, pretty much, on December 15, 2005, and my dad's in Ward 5, which is the mental facility in our local hospital in Peterborough. And this is the start of like a 14, 15-year journey of really hard highs and lows with my dad's mental health. He's been medicated for 14 years. And so looking back, that was the turning point. But it wasn't like one, dun, 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 Old Spice music, the lights come onto you in a spotlight and your whole life in that moment changes.
You were already on that journey.
Well, I wasn't. I was living in this like myopia of ignorance. I didn't know anything.
But still accumulating lots of knowledge. And
it was the day after. It was after that I did. Okay. So I didn't believe in self-education. I didn't want anyone to teach me stuff. I thought I knew everything. I thought you were wrong and I was right. Or if you were good at something, I just thought you were lucky or born with it. I wasn't open-minded, and it changed from December the 15th, 2005. So if you could say there was a day that was a turning point, it was that day. But I didn't like that day go, I know everything and this is my life as it changed and my life is flashing before me. I didn't have one of those moments like people who come back from death. That was the start. And basically I was shamed into action. And I didn't really know what to do. I just thought, I have to change this. Yes, I'm scared. I don't know what I've got to change. But I also knew, because my dad raised me to be an entrepreneur, and he is an entrepreneur, that there was some fire inside me. That I'd probably had like you got the boilers with the little pilot lights. Well, that's how it had been for probably 10 years. But then all of a sudden, this fire had been lit. So just all of a sudden, very serendipitous things started to happen. So I went back to the gallery the next day pretty much, where some of my art was hung in Peterborough. And I went to the gallery owner, who I'd become good friends with. He was a little bit of a mentor to me. And I said to him, that property event you've been telling me to go to for 2 years, where is it I'm going? Now, I was just like, I don't want to get into property. What do I know? Only rich people do that. I don't like screwing over tenants. I had all these bad misconceptions about successful and wealthy people.
Most people do, though, don't you?
I think
the majority.
I think it depends where you're born, doesn't it? Because if you're born in Monte Carlo, maybe not. I think if you're born into poverty, or you watch mainstream media, then maybe. But yeah, I suppose
I say that's the majority of people, though, wouldn't you?
Probably.
Yeah. And this is the thing it takes.
But you don't know what you don't know, do you?
Exactly.
And it's their attachments to things like money and business, and they just think it's an egotistical, maybe narcissistic field, and it's not necessarily that.
Well, it is and it isn't, because every human being is egotistical and has a narcissistic tendency, I believe.
Yeah.
And the people,
I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, of course you don't.
I don't get that.
Yeah, because I think ego is a human quality.
Yeah.
So
we all have it.
Yeah, we all have it. We all have the darkness, the demons. I believe we can all see every emotion that every human being experiences. Every human being experiences. Again, unless something is biologically or chemically wrong with your brain, where you haven't got those. Like there's that brilliant. There's two brilliant climbing films. One was called The Dawn Wall, and they did some scientific research on one of the. I think it was the free climber guy who has no ropes. He climbs up vertical, and they examined his brain, and basically the fear part of the brain was much smaller, and that may have been genetic and born, or it may have just been trained over time. But unless there's something like that with your brain, so every human being can be a complete narcissist. Everyone can be greedy. Everyone can screw people over. Take the most calm, passive, kind mum. Kidnap her kids, and you'll soon see those other dark traits of humanity. Yeah. So when someone thinks a business owner or someone who's into wealth is egotistical, they're just judging them based on their own values and fears. So back to your initial question, I didn't have a eureka moment. I had a day where I started to look at the world differently based on desperation and shame. And then I started spotting opportunities, and I was reading personal development books instead of not reading at all. I was open-minded to learning and listening to people instead of just thinking I knew it all, or you're just lucky to be smart or rich. And it was just literally like one half of life is this. This half of life is what is right, what is wrong. What I believe is the reality. You're either born with it or you're not. You can't really change it. And then this side is everything is learning, and you can be anything you want to be, and there's so much opportunity out there, and you can really forge your own path, and we all have different opinions and perceptions that we can all learn from. And up until December the 15th, 2005, I lived this way, and then after that I lived that way because of a significant emotional event that happened in my life that was the trigger. So people ask me stuff like that a lot, and really my only message from that, because it doesn't really matter about my life, is do not wait for a death or something awful to happen to someone in your family, or to go bust, or something that is so shameful to shock you into living this half of the life, which is open-minded, seeking opportunities, learning from everyone, being at cause rather than effect, being someone who can control your destiny rather than a victim.
This is exactly why we're doing this, and it's our message, wake up, just wake up to the possibilities. Don't wait for that, because it could be you. It could be you that is venturing towards the grave. We're not getting out of here alive, and it's that thing. Don't wait for it. take it now. You know, do it right now. I want to go on one of your phrases, Rob. PRA. Can you describe that to us? What does PRA mean? You have said it. Progression, recognition,
autonomy. Yeah. Should have let me do that. Yeah. So it's not really a phrase. PRA is what I believe most people who work want out of a career. So I asked James Kahn about this from Dragon's Den, and there's been a lot of study on what is it that staff, employees and people in a job or career value probably over money. And that would be progression, recognition, autonomy. So if you're in a job and Harry has got the promotion and Harry's been there 10 years and he's retiring in 15, you're like, I can't progress in my career for another 15 years unless I knock the fucker out or something happens to him or whatever. So you need to know that there's progression in your career, whether it's learning and development or whether it's, you know, the next promotion and the next promotion, the next promotion. Now, when you work in a massive corporation, that's all set. But when you're an entrepreneur and you've got 5 staff or 10 staff, there are no roles preset. So I learned quickly, because I had to find progression for people by selling them a vision, moving them in roles, giving them more than one sort of area of responsibility.
This is something I've always believed in my businesses, is to make sure that you allow people to grow within it. And I know you've spoken about that, a really interesting point, that people, business owners in particular, have the fear of growing their staff because they worry that they're going to leave, take the skills and become rivals. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's like a bit like being worried about having children because they're going to go and leave for university. I get it, but that's a very scarce mindset. You know, if you think about the two polar opposite mindsets, scarcity and abundance. Scarcity is there's not enough, and abundance is there's an infinite amount. And yeah, it's from a very fear-based, scarce mentality to say, I'm not going to train up people. I'm not going to, you know, level people up to do, you know, really big roles in my business, or even things that I can do in case they leave, in case they screw me over, in case they set up in competition. Well, let's look at it from an abundance point of view. If I train you to be an amazing guy, living an amazing life, my guess is you'd probably be pretty grateful to me for that. Yeah. So that's one upside. Would I rather train my competition or not train my competition? Well, I'd rather train the competition, because then when people say, oh, you know, Dan, Matt, oh yeah, I train those guys. So you're there trying to run your own business, but I can say that I trained you. So that gives me that extra position.
You've served more people.
We all grow
exactly,
together.
Yeah, we all grow together.
Yeah.
We might JV in the future.
Yeah.
The next thing is, a lot of people are worried about people leaving, setting up in competition or screwing them over or whatever without the realisation that they've done that to someone. So I've had people leave, I've had people what I might perceive screw me over, and I've probably created half the competition in my industry. And that's exactly what I did to my boss in 2006. I left and we set up Progressive Property. And you know, back at the time I didn't think I was doing anything wrong, because I thought there was no employment contract. He was this, that and the other. We tried to make things work with him. He didn't give us any opportunities. Yeah. But I'm sure that's what these guys would say about me. So I think it's wise to remember the balance. The next thing is, in order to grow, you have to let go. So if you don't want to grow talent, fine, just stay a small business. That's the cost. The cost of having a lot of talent is, of course, maybe a lack of control, or maybe some risks associated. But the upside is scale, reach, leverage, a lot more money. And then finally, I'd say, what I learned probably 7 or 8 years ago was that, yes, it's good to develop people, but if I develop you and I put all my time and energy into you, and I don't have a training process, I don't have systems, I don't have, you know, manuals and everything about what you do, if you leave, all the information leaves with you. Whereas if I have video training, which I created that trains you, and if I have like an ascension plan for you to go up your career, and at each point there's manuals and videos and audio to listen to in a step-by-step way, and there's checklists that help train you. If I lose you, well then Matt goes in and then I can develop Matt. So I want systems and processes and software to train people up, so that I'm not reliant on you if you leave, and B, my time.
Triple training for the time, and it's already there.
Yeah.
It's done.
Yeah.
And also, so if you are a business owner, listen up to that, because something that can serve you as well by doing that is you help somebody grow. Not everybody's going to leave, so you're going to end up with people working for you that are actually the best version of themselves, serving your business the best that they can. So
and the loyalty you
it's
get.
worth taking the risk and helping people grow.
I mean, probably the saying I'm most famous for is if you don't risk anything, you risk everything. So if you don't risk creating a great team by giving them the skills that you've got and letting go of control, then it's always just going to be based on you. So we probably have 70 trainers that are going through our Training Ascension program at Progressive and Progressive Success. I have probably 25 trainers who could go out around the UK and deliver courses for us. We do 850 training days a year. There's 2 trainings going on today over there that I'm not sat in. A couple of weekends ago, I did 650 to 700,000 pounds in revenue from training from that I wasn't training because my trainers were doing it. We're going global this year. I mean, we've done 2 or 3 different countries, but we're reaching 6 or 7 new countries. When I say this year, I mean 2020.
Yeah.
And I won't be doing most of those. My trainers will be doing most of those. And if I lose one, for whatever reason, then I've got a good ascension plan of people coming through.
Brilliant, brilliant. Rob, I want to speak to you about your Guinness World Book of Records speech, 46-hour speech. I mean, that sounds pretty incredible. What did it take to get through that? How did you break it up? What were your mindset? And why did you even want to do it in the first place?
Yeah, so I think 2011, I think it was. So we were quite disruptive in our business. And now I know everyone uses that word, but I've got it on my T-shirt.
So we own
Actually, I am. So, as a random aside, I got basically a cease and desist legal trademark letter from a company saying stop using the word disruptive because we use the word. And I'll just say the company name, why not? Because it doesn't really matter. But they were called Disruptive Design. And they tried to get me to stop using the word disruptive entrepreneur. And I felt like, wait a minute, disruptive entrepreneur, disruptive design, they're different. You don't own the word disruptive, and you can't stop me using the word with entrepreneur. And they were quite aggressive on it. So I went back and put a trademark request in for disruptive entrepreneur and got the trademark.
Gosh.
And that's that.
So
That's the moment.
So
Disruptive Designs.
well, hey, look, disruptive design. Carry on with your disruptive design. Carry on, but I own the disruptive entrepreneur trademark now, so I've got that. Just a small thing. So yeah, when we started in the property training space, we have the biggest property training company in the UK. It's community, revenue, the lot. And when we started, we were obviously a couple of little minnows. Mark and I were young. We didn't look like what all the other guys in the industry looked like. They were all 50, 55, give or take. Grey suit, trousers were too short, white shirt. I think they were all Marks and Spencers. I think they all bought the same. I think, yeah, hey, look, not knocking, that's the look. That was the look back then. And so Mark and I, well, not Mark and I, me, because I'm not saying I'm a fashionista, but Mark is less of one than me. So I got us wearing tight Italian suits and stripy shirts. And everyone's like, who are those 2 guys with the stripy shirts? And of course, you know, some people liked it and some people look at those 2 stripy shirted cocks and wankers and whatever else. I didn't really care. I just wanted them talking about us.
You're standing out.
Yeah, because that got us a bit of noise. And so we grew quite quickly and got quite well known. I mean, we put ourselves out there, don't get me wrong. And then I kind of got a bit like, everything's comfortable, everyone's doing the same kind of seminars, what can I do that's different? And I just had an idea, I can talk a lot, why don't I go for the longest speech world record? And we found out that it was, I think back at the time, it was 46 hours, I think I did 47 or whatever. And I didn't even think about it, I just thought I can do this, let's have it. And it's a good job I didn't think about it, because it was hard, it was really fucking hard. So it was 47 hours, just under 8. Which was
straight.
Yeah.
No break.
Well, you were allowed, I think, 5-minute break every 2 hours, something like that.
Right, okay.
Which I didn't always take. I mean, I just pretty much spoke straight through. On the second day, at about 3 a.m, so coming up to the last day, I completely lost my voice, but I had to keep talking. Just had to keep talking. I just could hardly get anything out. And you can probably hear now my voice is quite croaky, and if I speak for 2 or 3 hours, it just gets really sore and croaky. So pretty much fucked my voice up. But hey, look, if you're going to break a world record, you might as well have a bit of sacrifice and pain along the way.
Well, that's why they're there, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, they're supposed to be hard. Yeah. They're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be easy. Yeah, and so why did I do it? Because I wanted to do something different. I wanted to disrupt the seminar world a bit. We sold tickets for the live stream. We sold tickets for the live event because you had to have a certain number of people there live all the time to get the world record because they're quite strict. And we raised the first one. I think we raised 35 grand for charity. It might have been 100 grand. I can't remember. We raised a lot of money though, which was also a cool thing to do. But yeah, I just wanted to do something different. I think it's cool to do things that are a bit different. When I do my podcast, I like to get guests who are really different. Guests that, like, you follow my podcast, you think, oh, I know the kind of guests that Rob's getting. And then bang, I get a different guest. So just when I've done a couple of billionaires, they're like, I got Katie Hopkins. And then just when they think, Rob's using someone as a gimmick, I'll go back to a billionaire, or I'll get David Lloyd, who set David Lloyd's gym up, or I've got Kane, the mega world WWE wrestler. I've got him, he's a mayor, quite a big businessman. So what I like to do is do stuff that's a bit different without taking massive risks, because if you do something that's too different, it can fail. And then when it works, keep rinsing it. But then as soon as people are like, I know what he's going to do, then I like to pivot and do something a bit different, always to try and stay ahead if I can. I think it's good business sense. I'm a kind of creative person, so I kind of like that anyway. I like that with music. I like when bands, like Radiohead's a band I really like, and you know they do the bends and OK Computer, and you think, I know who Radiohead are. They're like this sort of, quite rocky but quite melodic band, and then all of a sudden it goes to no choruses, no verses, digital, experimental. And they're always just like, where you think I'm going over here. And it keeps you unpredictable, it keeps you interesting, it keeps you creative. And then you can keep reinventing your space and growing, and not becoming complacent or relaxed or outdated or irrelevant. I mean, for me, irrelevance is one of my biggest fears. I mean, to be like nothing. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Rather be hated or loved.
Yeah, I mean, I love Alexander McQueen. Love it. And the McQueen documentary is the single best documentary ever, I think. I shop at McQueen a lot. I love the stuff. I like Vivienne Westwood as well. Because those guys, you can't put them in a box. They're wildly creative, quite controversial, probably not necessarily meaning to be, a little bit tortured. And I think a lot of great artists are a little bit tortured.
Got the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah. You talk about that. I want to touch upon mental health. I know it's important to you. I think you spoke about it being an energy that you can either not only combat, but you can use to serve you. How can you just talk a little bit about that? About how we can, because we all suffer with depression in some form, I believe. We all suffer with anxiety. What are the tips for you to turn that around?
Yeah, so I'm passionate about talking about mental health. Not just because it's become quite common, which, by the way, I'm really pleased about.
Yeah.
So there's some things that when everyone's talking about it, I'm like bored and over it. Not mental health. Let's keep talking about it because it's fucking important, especially with men. Because the suicide is way higher in men. It's way less accepted, or has been. My dad from Huddersfield, quite a hard upbringing, a really hard dad. He didn't share any emotion. And I saw how it came out with him in anger, and I saw all that, and he bottled it all in.
That's so typical, for men.
Yeah, never really share how he felt. Women will. I know we're generalising, but generally women are okay talking about how they feel, and it comes out. And I guess I'm a bit metrosexual in this regard because I'll talk things out. I'm opposite to my dad, and if I've got something bubbling up, I'll talk it out, and it's almost like real life therapy. And it's stopped me from really self-sabotage and everything else.
It's a release, isn't it?
Yeah. What goes in must come out. it's law of physics. So if you bottle stuff up, it's going to come out in the form of illness, mental illness, even disease, which is dis-ease, or frustration, anger, lashing out at people. There's a not very famous saying, and I think it's so powerful, and it is that hurt people hurt people. And if you hold stuff in, you end up lashing out at everybody else. And unfortunately, the people we lash out at are the people who we love, our kids, our family, our partners, which lash out to your haters. Don't lash out to the people that you love. Fuck you, haters, not fuck you, wife. Why would you do that? But that's because they're there all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm passionate about talking about it because my dad has really struggled with it. Because I know I've got that dark side of me and I know I could go down there. I mean, my podcast is an amazing outlet. I've had coaches, mentors, I talk a lot. I've got a therapist, which is really important. And so that's one of the reasons why I want to get the message out a lot more. Another reason is I speak to entrepreneurs every day. And as common as, oh, Rob, how do I increase my sales? And how do I do more marketing? And how do I put myself out there is, how do I deal with, rejection? And if I ask for money, am I going to be judged? And, I'm really feeling alone starting this new business. I feel lost. I've not really got anyone around me. My friends don't really understand what I'm doing. And I didn't even know this when I started. When I started in business and teaching other people business, I thought I'd be teaching you sales, marketing, finance, accountancy, strategy, vision, all the practical stuff.
But you're dealing with real people.
Yes, and when you deal with people, what comes with it is their emotions. Yeah. And feeling alone and feeling lost, feeling rudderless and directionless, comparing yourselves to other people. Oh, you guys are doing better, why am I not doing as well? Beating yourself up. They are common, so common. And that sort of the message that you're not alone, ask for help. There's mentors, coaches and people who want to support you, people like me who'll help. Podcasts are great. Do your own podcast. For me, my podcast is so therapeutic because every day the stuff I bottle, the stuff I choose not to say, the criticism I get, and I feel like that's not fair, but like I'm trying to master myself by not retaliating or lashing out. Man, a good rant on a podcast, that's therapy. It's like a massive tactical chunder when you're at university. All out, right, let's go drinking again.
But it's a double whammy, because people are affected by that, and they go, wow, he's got such a good point, and then that helps them in their life.
This is it.
If you can help somebody else as well.
Like, I'm not just going, me, my life, it's all fucked. It's stuff that I experienced. Now, because I help a lot of entrepreneurs, because I have big entrepreneurial communities, I just know what everyone's struggling with, and revelation is stuff I'm wrestling with too. Yeah. So if I get it out, I feel better for it. I create content from it, and then of course the community benefits.
How do you recommend dealing with haters online? Because it's something everyone deals with, I think, at some level or another.
Well, if you haven't got any haters, you're not big enough, because there used to be this naive fantasy that I had, this delusion that as I got better, people would appreciate me more and I'd have less haters. The reality is, as you get out there more, you'll have more haters. And go on anyone's Instagram account who's got a big following, even if you really like them, and you look at that person, you think, how could anyone hate you? There'll be loads of hate on them. Yeah, you can find it. I think the biggest thing about dealing with haters is the realization that A, it's normal, B, you're not getting less, you're getting more, and C, they serve a purpose. Now, this is the bit people don't get. So for a lot of years, I was thinking to myself, what's the point of a critic? What's the point of a hater? What's the point of someone who just spends their whole life knocking everyone down? Because I wanted to get my head around it. And here is, I believe, the purpose of a critic, a troll, a hater, etc. It is to keep you in balance. Because if you didn't have any critics or any trolls or any haters, you would become naturally complacent, arrogant. You would focus less on service and more on self. You would focus less on looking after customers and more just on sales and money. You'd become unconsciously greedy. You'd be too self-absorbed. So nature needs you to be in balance.
Less driven to improve, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't care about feedback.
That's why I got that.
What's that?
My yin yang.
There you go. Yin yang. Yeah.
Balance.
I always think about
all about balance.
Everything.
Yeah.
So now, by the way, you also need lifting up when you're down. So when you're really down, like let's say you're really struggling and think, like you should do this as an experiment because people don't see the balance. But let's say you're having a really shit time and you've had something really fucking horrible happen to you. If you put a post in a Facebook group, you'll get a massive support. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might get the odd criticism, but you'll get a massive support. If you go on going, look at me cocky, look at me cocky, look at me cocky, you'll attract a mass of criticism. Mm-hmm. So, like, dealing with haters, the first thing is to understand their purpose. Now, when you understand the purpose of a hater, you become grateful, not defensive, angry, upset. It's also a challenge of your own emotional stability, because if you can have 1,000 haters out there and go, thank you for the feedback. You know, like I remember seeing, I'm interviewing Ben Askren for my podcast this week. He's a big UFC fighter. One of the reasons I want to interview him is he holds the record for being knocked out the quickest in UFC, 5 seconds, knee, gone. And, you know, like that's pretty hard to deal with. But he put this post up on Twitter.
Like flying knee?
Yeah. Yeah. So he put this post up on his Twitter saying, hey, look, I want to say thank you to all my fans, I love you. And I want to say thank you to all my haters. You're all losers and someone's got to love you, so I love you, thank you. And I just thought, that's a nice way to deal with it. A bit of banter. Like, you know, they don't really hate on him. They don't know him. So
most of them are just mad at the world.
That's exactly it. Now, let's examine it a bit closer, because, by the way, I've done a lot of discussion on this. I think this is huge. Is there anyone watching or listening that doesn't feel some kind of emotion towards critics, trolls, haters? No. We all want everyone to like us, and we all somehow react emotionally when we get hate. But the first thing, in terms of evaluating it, is one, is it feedback, criticism, hate, or trolling? Because they're different. So what a lot of people do is, as soon as someone criticises, someone said, oh, your shirt's a bit tight. Oh, hater! Fuck the haters! Fuck the haters! Well, no. Maybe it's good fashion advice, or maybe your guns are so massive. You know, oh look, half your buttons are fucking undone. What are you doing? You know, like they could criticise me, but
so
like,
you need to
I'm
work
just going
on
to do the
yourself.
buttons.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, you need to work on yourself first, so that you're in a position to understand what it is.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, a lot of the time, it's just feedback or criticism is good, and there's often, maybe always, a bit of truth in it. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater by saying, oh, everyone's a hater. They're not. Now, a hater. One, they can get you better on social media, because you've got to learn how to block them. You've got to learn how to deal with them elegantly online.
Do you know how to do that, Dan? Do you know how to block anybody?
I don't.
Dan's terrible with social media. You do it, do you?
I dip in and out. That's it.
Clueless. So yeah, you could do with my haters.
Yeah.
You can learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Also, it tests your ability to react with people online. So, look, if someone's stalking you and trolling you, you probably do need to block them.
Yeah,
if they have a vendetta. But generally, the vendettas aren't personal. They do that to everyone like you. But sometimes I try and have a bit of fun with them. Sometimes a bit of banter. Sometimes just, show gratitude. Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, if someone trolls you online, hates on you online. By the way, troll is a fake profile. So a hater is not a troll. If you call a hater a troll or a critic a troll, that's one way to make them hate you even more. But what people don't realise is, let's say I'm criticising your business. You gave me bad service. I'm criticising your business. Immediately you might go, oh, that looks really bad for me, my business, my brand. They're wrong. That's unfair. That's libel. That's defamatory. And you go and give all that energy out there. As much as you might be entitled, everyone's going to look at you and go, bloody hell, if I give you any criticism, that's what you're going to do to me. Whereas if you go, thanks for the feedback, I don't want anyone to have this experience, I'm really sorry you experienced this, I don't agree with all the points, but I'd just like to fix it. So why don't we have a quick phone call and I'll fix it, and then if we're sorted, would it be okay if we updated the post? Everyone's looking at you going, you got some unfair criticism, but you dealt with it like a pro. Yeah. I want to do business with you. Yeah. So your haters and your critics are your opportunity to show the world who you are. Also, your haters and critics are brilliant for the algorithms, because your fans will either go yeah or thanks or morning or nothing.
One little comment.
Yeah. But your haters will go on and everyone will jump in and the algorithms will go wild and then you'll get loads of shares and everything's going wild. So I love a good debate on my thread. The perfect one is when you get a hater and a hater hating off on each other. You just like, leave them on my thread like two dogs. So they're brilliant for the algorithms.
Yeah, brilliant. Have you ever compromised your own health for financial success?
Ouch. I mean, life is about compromising, isn't it? So I'm not the best for balance. I often get asked about life balance. I remember Shah Wasman saying to me once, I don't really believe in life balance. She's a friend of mine. I believe in life blend. And I thought that was a good distinction. Because life blend is what do you blend into your life that's right at the time. But I think a lot of people are looking for the perfect balance harmoniously of all things in their life. When in reality, sometimes you have to be obsessive about something, and then there's a cost over there.
It's an unrealistic expectation that can actually send you to being depressed because you're so struggling.
Because you can't spin all the plates, you can't make everyone happy, etc. So I think there's seasons and periods in your life. So this year, for example, I wanted to have my biggest year ever. We've had the biggest year ever, and there's been some cost to me for that. Been overwhelmed. We've had some big challenges. By the way, business has been great, so I'm not complaining or anything. I'm just saying there's been some cost.
Yeah, the reality.
So I've decided next year to have a more balanced year. So I'm not going to go for my biggest year ever. I'm going to go for a more balanced year where I might start my martial arts again. I might start listening to more vinyl. I might start doing more social stuff. I'll start taking weekends off again and blah, blah, blah. And that'll be that year. And I had 2 or 3 years, or my leverage years, where I travel with my son all around the world playing golf. He was doing all the world championships. And I decided that. So you can live by a year or a season or a month or a week where you can almost have themes. I think it's not possible to have everything perfectly balanced. Health, well, they have the life wheels. Health, wealth, spirituality, happiness.
On a daily basis.
Exactly. It's a bit of a naive fantasy. Yeah. So
but it is balance over the years, what you're telling us. You are getting balance in that sense.
Yeah. So have I ever compromised my health for the sake of business and finance? Not intentionally, of course. But yeah, probably I can be quite obsessive. So
sleep starts to go to the bottom of the priority list.
I'm better at that now.
Yeah,
much better at that. I'm not a believer in, no sleep. I've tested for a long time the right amount of sleep for me.
What is
It's
it?
about 9:30 to 5. It's about the optimum time.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 to 5. But anything later than that and I start to feel it. So no, I'm definitely not one for that. I'm just one for getting a bit obsessive. But I get obsessive about business because I love it. So I'd say the costs for success for me have maybe been overwhelm. I take on a lot of things and I can get quite overwhelmed. I sometimes feel like, because I'm doing so many things, I'm not doing any of them very well. I do have guilt of maybe not seeing my kids as much as I could, but I know I'm not meant to be the kind of dad that spends all day every day with their kids. Not knocking that, because those kind of dads are awesome, but I just know that's not who I'm meant to be and that's not the example I'm meant to set to my kids.
And you serve them better by being authentic and being true to you, don't you?
Yeah. I've not been in hospital, I've not had a breakdown, I've not had a burnout. And I'll tell you why. Because if I was doing a job I didn't like and I did what I did, I probably would have had all of those. Yeah. But because I'm doing what I enjoy, I believe burnouts don't happen when you're doing what you love. And I believe people burn the midnight oil staying up late. Like when I was... How old are you, lads?
I'm 28.
28. Don't play the games, just tell me.
Get on with
Don't
it.
look at me like
25.
25.
It's definitely not.
36. So you'll remember this, you might be a bit young.
Okay.
But Tekken, do you remember Tekken on the PlayStation? So me and my mates were so into Tekken, we learned all the 10-move combos. I could even beat some of my mates on some of the shitty characters. And they'd come over mine after school, so about 4:30, and we'd play that thing until basically my mum or dad came in and say, lads, you've got to get out of the house at 11 o'clock at night or something like that. We would not eat dinner, we wouldn't have a break, we would not go to the toilet, we would just like... I know some lads who are good mates, they'll play Call of Duty and they stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning all the time. And they don't think about food, they don't think about sleep, they don't think about, oh, wait a minute, lads, let's take an hour off and go and do a walk and a meditation before we come back for Call of Duty Part 2. They don't think about that.
Same with stag do's and all that kind of thing.
You can drink all day and all night for a week. Why? Because you're doing something you really enjoy. So you can be a crazy fucker. You can be obsessed and burn the midnight oil and probably not burn out if you're doing what you love. Now, if you did that for 30 years and no sleep, obviously, that, basic common sense applies, disclaimer. Yeah. But that's why I've not had any major issues, because I'm in flow doing what I love to do. Yeah. And by the way, sometimes that's bad because you don't know when to stop. You don't know when to take a break. You don't know when to turn your phone off. You don't know when to get off social media.
Yeah.
The only time I'm not on my phone is when it dies and I forget my charger. And my wife just loves it when that happens.
It's an absolute bitch when that happens.
Yeah. It happens to you all the time.
All the time.
You have to talk to people and stuff. Yeah.
Horrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I need a new phone. I'm interested. Do you have any non-negotiable daily rituals that you have to be doing every single day, whether it be exercise, anything like that?
Do you mean ones that I do, or ones that are a fantasy that I
you
would
should
like
do?
to do? Yeah, dreams of things I would
Any
love
you
to
do that
Yeah.
you do stick to?
All right, yeah. So for me, getting up early. When I'm on holiday, when I'm apparently not working, sometimes my wife says to me, why don't you ever lie in or whatever? No, I'm always up really early, hunting out Costa Coffee wherever I am. By the way, some really amazing news. Everyone needs to know this. This is fucking awesome for the whole world. Coca-Cola have just bought Whitbread out. They own Costa now. So now I think Costa will be in every country in the world, not just in England and other countries. Like Starbucks is America, but now it's going to be Costa Coffee. That is the best news ever. So when I go abroad, I can have Costa Coffee.
There.
But everything is made.
There.
Yeah. So getting up early, having my Costa Coffee. I have some diva tendencies. So in countries where I can't get Costa Coffee, my PA bought like a full-on Costa Coffee machine, almost like a proper professional barista one. She got my own padded suitcase, and that travels around the world with me. So
Wow.
I can have. I know. So
All
I
right,
can have
witness.
Costa Coffee. Yeah. So I would say working on strategy and vision and where I'm taking my brand and the companies, they're definitely non-negotiables. Obviously I want to try and see my kids every day, and I do, and sometimes I feel like I should do more. I want to make sure I'm serving in some way every day, whether that's helping people on social media, doing calls, hopefully being a good, leader to the team from the role that I'm in. But other than that, really, I've got a great team. I've got about 85 staff in this office, so they can do a lot of stuff which helps me. I should exercise every day, but it probably in reality is 3 or 4 times a week. I do really like.
That's about right.
That's all right, is it?
Depends what kind of an athlete you are, naturally, where you sit.
Greek statue.
There you go. There you go.
Might need to
Why are you laughing so hard?
No, just
You're laughing a bit there.
Yeah, that's a bit too. David Brent over there. Yeah.
No, but that might be optimal to you in terms of your recovery.
It's not. I'd like to do it more.
Would you like to do it more?
Yeah, I've been working out for 10 years and I've not really got any more muscles. I'm doing something wrong. I could do more chin-ups.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not getting bigger. But anyway, ex-bodybuilding world champion there, he's going to help me. So,
yes.
Impressive. Disruptive entrepreneur, that's how you market yourself. What does it mean?
Disruptive, well, I don't really market myself as such.
Okay, you trademarked it.
Yeah, that's another level, isn't it? I don't market it, I fucking own it.
You just are it.
Yeah, I just am it.
You
Yeah.
own that shit.
So, to me, disruptive means creative, unique. It means changing before you get changed. It means staying relevant. It means borrowing and modelling ideas in different industries and bringing them into your own. It means taking responsibility for growth and second guessing your market and, never being blindsided by something out of your control. It means to challenge yourself. And I believe entrepreneurship there's entrepreneurship in music, there's entrepreneurship in art, there's entrepreneurship in watchmaking, there's entrepreneurship in everything. So I think you could even extend it to life. Yeah.
Nice.
Never being bored, complacent.
I like it. Interesting one for you. We recently interviewed Rhys Davis from the Champions of Mind podcast. Do you know Rhys?
Yep.
Yeah. And in quote, said during our interview that he didn't want to become a Rob Moore. So we were like, can you elaborate on that? And this is just a quote. When we asked him about this, he said, he may be a nice guy, but I know that people who have been to him, coached by him, have come to me broken. He believes those type of events aren't actually life-changing, and they're stroking people's egos, meaning that they don't get results, etc., etc., and they go to him emotionally, sometimes suicidal. What do you think about that?
So I'm not one for criticising others. I've had plenty of people come to me who've done work with those guys, I'd probably say half a dozen, and been shouted and screamed at and semi-abused, and coached them. So I guess probably anyone in the industry could say, oh, I'm coaching someone who went to that person, who went to that person. Now, I could defend myself and they could defend themselves. They've got a style, I've got a style. My style's not going to work for everyone. Their style's not going to work for everyone. What you won't hear me say is I want to or I don't want to become one of those guys, but they're saying I don't want to become a Rob, so I'm in the dialogue. So I think that, that's a good thing.
Yep. Means you made an impact.
Yeah, well, I mean, I want to help people, and I'm the one speaking to people on the phone at 6:45, 7, 7:15 and 7:30 for free, advising people with no sales, no other outcome. Sometimes people are down and depressed and suicidal. I've definitely had people who have had suicidal thoughts that I've helped. I know there are people still here because of the impact I made to them and for them, and that's not something I sort of brag about, that's just something that I do. I just say that sometimes in defence when stuff like this comes out. So yeah, I don't really want to...
It's all within somebody anyway. It's an external factor.
Look,
sometimes you can't be coached out of that anyway. Do you know?
Yeah,
it's in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, have we all been depressed at times? Probably.
Yes.
Have we all blamed other people for our limitations and what we're not succeeding in at times? Probably. Yeah, so wait a minute, let's have another read of this. This is interesting.
This one here. Let's get the gloves off. Oh, gloves on.
He was purposely cancelling over 70 public speaking events. I don't know what that means.
Champions of Mind cancelled their event because they decided it wasn't the way they wanted to do business. They didn't want to just be talking at big events and not serving the majority of people.
That's totally their prerogative. I mean, you could argue you make a greater impact working with people one-to-one. You could argue you make a greater impact speaking to people 1 to 1,000. I mean, I speak on stages with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, and I do 15 to 20 one-to-one calls a week. So I kind of do both. Sometimes I love public speaking for the brand. It's good for your confidence. It's good to reach more people, get more people to know. Do 850 training events a year and go online and try and find anything bad about us. That's really hard. I'm not saying we haven't from time to time made mistakes. We all make mistakes.
Of course.
And it's a percent thing
when you're working with so many people.
Well, it's scale. By the way, when you're at the top, you get the criticism.
Absolutely.
I'm not going around criticising these guys. They're going around criticising me. Yeah. So that because we're at the top, and that's sort of. That's the part of it, because I know this isn't the first time. Doesn't want to become a Rob Moore. Well, I'm pleased he doesn't want to become a Rob Moore, because there's only one fucking Rob Moore, and that's me. But I don't want anyone to become me.
Yeah.
Like the people, for example, if you go on some public speaking training, you look at them and you go, I can see exactly who they've been trained by, because they're mirroring them. And Whereas if you look at any of my trainers, they're all completely different, and they're not trying to be me, and I don't want them to try and be me. Yeah. So I would never want anyone to become me. I'm just about happy and comfortable with who I am and working on that all the time. So no, anyone follow me. Don't want to become me. Pick the bits of me you like, pick the bits of me that you think could work for you. The bits of me that you don't like that wouldn't work for you, use me as a good model to not do. So I'm all good with that. When we asked him about this, he told us that he may be a nice guy, but I know the people that have been to what he's done come to me broken. I don't know what that means. Is he quoting me or are you quoting him?
I think what he's saying is people come to him and emotionally they're still broken, they've not had the results.
Well, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really comment on that. I mean, define broken. Some people get results quickly, some people get results slowly. It depends where you're at in your life. To me, that seems like quite a generic statement.
Yeah.
So I believe those type of events aren't actually changing lives, they're stroking people's egos. Well, I actually used to do a lot of big public speaking events in front of thousands of people. And then when I trained my trainers, I sort of came off the stage. I'll do 20 or 30 speaking gigs a year now. I got my trainer on an event I used to speak at, which was nearly 1,000 people. So I don't think you can accuse... I mean, I don't think he's accusing me there. I think he's talking about the industry.
Yeah.
But, I was able to get my ego out of the way, because actually, if I've got 25 trainers, doing 850 events a year, or 820, and I'm doing 30, I can grow and grow and grow. So I love public speaking. Now, part of that love is meeting some of my needs, and part of your needs are ego-based. I would argue these two guys have, probably got some ego.
I think they'll openly say that, yeah.
Because, it's a human trait, but it's also quite a male trait. People are going to go to coaches emotionally broken. That's what a coach attracts. Yeah. And I don't know what their message is because I don't really follow them. But, if they're putting a message out, because I know they're big into sort of this, like, relentless, well, of course, when people are relentless, they're going to break. I'm more into leverage and balance, not blend, not balance. So... Does that answer that one?
That's a great answer. And just to clarify, the reason we brought that up is...
Great, that's fine. You asked me if there isn't anything that we didn't want to discuss.
I think it's important for our listeners because they're going to listen to that episode, have a preconceived idea of who you are. It's important they get...
I don't go around bitching about these guys. They go around bitching about me. I don't know why. I'll go on their podcast and we'll have a chat about it all because they don't know me. They think they know me. I get on really well with James, but I've had a few people upset come to me about, really upset. So maybe they should get me on their podcast and let's have a chat about it all. Right. I'll sit between the two big guys.
We'll orchestrate it. Let's go on to success. Brilliant. I'm interested, who inspires you and motivates you to be better?
Everyone and anyone. So I watched a documentary on Billy Munger, who I'm just talking to get on my podcast. He was in Formula 4, probably the best racer on the grid, only 17 years old. Yeah. Have you seen the documentary? You've seen it. So, yeah. Anyway, horrific accident, both of his legs amputated from, one just below the knee, one just above, I think, or on the knee. And it plots his journey back to actually getting in Formula 3. And his first race, he became third. And he actually got the law changed on disabled drivers being able to drive. So that just blew me away.
Yeah, incredible.
And awesome guy. And then Alexander Mcqueen, who was probably one of the best designers that ever lived, was head of fashion houses in his early 20s, which is unheard of, but struggled with the darker side of his life. Anyone who phones me up and is struggling, and then I speak to them 3 months later and they've turned their life around, I'm inspired by them. So I'm not just inspired by the big guys and and the fame and the celebrity. I'm inspired by people who turn their life around and they take responsibility for their life.
Can I just say on a positive note as well, because that last one were a bit of a challenge. Our launch period, we interviewed a rugby league legend called Robbie Paul, and he gave a book tip in that episode. Yeah. And he said...
Yeah, Robbie Paul, I remember him.
Remember Robbie?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Life Leverage by Rob Moore,
said. Nice.
So there you go. So,
do these chaps have a book?
I knew it was coming.
I'm only playing. I'd love to do a podcast. I'd love to go on their podcast.
Yeah. I'm sure they'd love to have you.
Yeah, if they want to have a chat about it all, and let's do it because, I'm open to it.
That's great.
What is one thing in your life you're most grateful for right now?
I'm grateful for that we just talked about because that helps me improve and remember that there's people out there talking about me, so try and do things the right way. Grateful for you guys coming in the studio and spending your time with me.
So it's the little things.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for being born in the developed world as a white male who hasn't been majorly abused or had his family murdered or don't have to walk 20 miles to get water that could kill me. And your brain is very good at getting you to obsess over tiny bullshit problems and stuff you read on social media and things people say and blah, blah, blah. It's wired to do that because we're wired to notice threat more than opportunity. And so questions like this make me realise I've got my health, I've got some money in the bank, I've got a couple of nice cars, more than a couple of nice cars. I've got people who care about me. I've got a decent business. What the fuck more could I want? And actually, I do every day. I think every day it comes into my head that just feel really lucky. Got a good life, lucked out,
having perspective.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't get pissed off and forget that for an hour or a day. Or
you're a human being.
Yeah, I try not to moan and bitch and complain.
Yeah, you're intentional about...
In the last 40 days, I commented on someone's haircut, and it was just on TV, and I thought, that wasn't a very nice comment. I'm glad they're on TV and not face-to-face. And obviously I defended myself there, but in the last 40 days, I think they're the only two things where I might deem to have been critical. So I want to try and uphold to not shouting shit all the time.
Yeah.
Shouting shit about everyone. I don't know. It might be therapeutic, but I don't want to be that person.
Just put good energy.
I'll defend myself. I will defend myself, but no, I don't want to be that person.
Shall we do our this or that section? We've got a quick fire. Just
it.
give us which one you think is most important. So number 1 is 2 coffees a day or no coffees at all.
We know that one.
2 coffees a day.
Animal products or vegan diet.
Oh, fucking hell, that's...
Somebody just press pause.
Well, I'm not a vegan.
Okay.
So it'd be hypocritical of me to say vegan diet. Obviously, for PR, I want to say vegan diet.
Have you seen any of the documentaries, the Game Changers, all that stuff?
Not the Game Changers yet, but I've seen a lot of them.
What the Health?
Yeah, I've been vegetarian for a lot of years, and in the end, I went back to eating meat because I just found that there wasn't enough food going out. It's got a lot better since because I've been eating meat for a few years, and I am going through another little bit of an emotional turmoil in my head as to whether I might go back to being vegetarian or vegan or this, because no one talks about this. Why is it not okay to eat meat twice a week and then maybe a vegetarian for 3 days a week and then maybe a vegan for 2 days a week?
Why does it have to be so extreme?
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it, and I totally get.
Yeah.
Like, I'd never knock a vegan. I'd take the piss out of them, but I wouldn't knock them.
Yeah.
Totally get it. Totally cool. And like, stand up for what you stand up for what you believe in, and I get it.
Yeah.
But if you can get someone like me to eat meat only twice a week and vegetarian 3 times a week and then vegan twice a week, then you're making good progress. And then if we all did 2 days vegan and 2 days vegetarian, the world is going to dramatically change in terms of what we're trying to change. Yep. So I might do that. I might just not start saying I'm this and I'm that and putting it on social media and look at me.
Labels.
Yeah, I might just... I did say to my wife, let's start eating less meat. She's very health conscious and all of that and does all the mindful chef and all that. So yeah, I think I'm going to be more responsible. So can I say somewhere in the middle? I know this is this or that, but we try and buy all organic. We try and be careful not to have anything tested. My wife sorts all of that out because she buys all that kind of stuff. All the creams and stuff she gets she does all that.
Yeah.
But we're probably not perfect. So I'm going to say right in the middle on that.
Which is exactly what Dan and I do, isn't it? Yeah. You know, we're not one label or the other. We just try and be as conscientious as possible and eat well.
And contribute.
Next one, weights or cardio?
Oh, weights all day long because clearly I need it.
I laughed again a lot of this. Sorry.
Next time you come down, if we do a round 2, bring the champions and mine boys down. And I will buff up and I'll show you.
I can't wait.
And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to wear a shirt with Disruptive and I'm going to undo all the buttons. It's going to be down there, look, just for you. I'm going to shave my chest hair as well.
Yeah, do the full.
Yeah, just to tan. Yeah, I'm going to do fake tan. I've got your fucking number.
Bring it
So the thing is with weights as well is you can get the breathlessness from the weights, can't you? If you do, you can get cardio with weights. So I'll say weights.
Yeah. Excellent. Meditation or reading?
I'd say neither, actually. I'd say audio. So for me, podcasts and audiobooks, I do those way more. I mean, I'm trying to do meditation, but at the moment I do walking meditations. I modelled it on what Joe Dispenza teaches. I've tried meditation quite a lot. I'm a bit fidgety, and I know it's an area I need to work on, but it also makes me who I am. But I go on a lot of long walks, and when I do these calls, sometimes I go on an hour and a half walk, and I'll do a walking meditation before, which is trying to get in that state of being present, obviously watching for traffic and stuff, but also doing my incantations and visualization. Then I do a load of calls. So I would say somewhere in the middle on that one as well.
Great stuff.
4 hours sleep or 10?
10. No one's living a long life on 4 hours sleep. It's got to be 10. Yeah.
That's quick. Wow.
Yes.
Final one.
Being broke and in love or wealthy and alone?
Being broke and in love with a fucking rich woman. How's that? How's that?
That's solution driven. We've got solutions here. Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you today. We're doing that?
Yeah.
We're doing fist bumps. We've got massive respect for you. If people are hearing about you for the first time, where do they find you online? Where is the best place to get your content?
So my podcast is called The Disruptive Entrepreneur. I've written quite a lot of books. If you search on Amazon, you can find me there, Rob Moore. And if you like Google me or any social medias, it's either Rob Moore or Rob Moore Progressive.
Excellent.
And you've got books, you've got the full works, haven't you?
Full
People want to.
Yeah, Life Leverage, Starting Out, Get Perfect Later, Money, are my books. I've got another podcast called Money. I put quite a lot of content out there. Yeah, so...
You've been doing it a while.
Yeah, doing my best.
Final question, Rob. What is your definition of success?
Well, I think everyone's definition of success is different. And I think that's important. So I would say for me it is continual growth, progress, feeling like I'm moving forward, making a difference. So I would like my wealth to go up because that's feedback for growth and progress. I'd like to get fitter because that's feedback for growth and progress. I'd like to self-actualize and become a better, more impactful human being with my reach because for me that means growth and progress. So I find it really hard to stagnate. I don't really like switching off. I get bored really easily. So my highest value is probably growth and progress. So for me, if I'm growing, I'm happy.
Excellent.
What an
Thank you
answer.
so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, and there's... Give it up for Mr. Ramsden!
Thank you so much for listening to today's Rich in Success episode. If this episode has impacted you, there's a few things we need you to do in order to help us make a wider positive change. Please spread the word. Tell a friend that you think will benefit from our message. Subscribe to the show on your chosen podcast platform and give the show a 5-star rating and review. Don't forget to like our social media pages and tag us on your Instagram stories. Your support means the world. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time as the journey of personal growth and self-discovery continues.